This is the strongest build in the game. Welcome back to Cocky Gachas, and in this video I'm going to touch on the Soul Destroyer Sinx build that is being termed as the strongest build as of right now, and I'm going to touch on this based on my friend's account. I borrowed my friend's account, the Mad Lolly, over here, and you can see that his account is somewhat of a cashy front, right? So I do think that he has spent a couple $100 on this account already, which is why he chose to be a Sinx. Otherwise, I would think that being a Sinx without spending any money, being a free-to-play, is probably not going to work for you guys. So first up on the screen, this is the stats build on display. You can see that the stats is going to be heavily focused on intel. In fact, it's 99 for my friend's build, and the rest of the stats can be divided between the strength and the vid. And it's very simple why you need intel, right? For people that are playing the Sinx using the daggers, it might be quite surprising to you guys, or if you guys have no idea why this is the case, later I'm touch on it better on the Soul Destroyer. But basically, the skill relies on intel as a multiplier, so you definitely need as high intel as possible. But at the same time, this build also relies on physical attack, so it's a build that leverages on both the physical attack as well as magical attack, but intel comes in very clutch. And the reason why this build is so strong is also because a lot of times when you see your medals, a lot of times when you see your cards, like a cram card, it gives both the attack and physical attack as well as magic attack. And for a Soul Breaker build, right, you can leverage both, while this other classes cannot do so. So what I would suggest for you guys to add is that you definitely 100% intel. However, if you want to go for a more PvP focused build, right, you would definitely want more vid. I think that the vid here is a bit lacking. If you want to go for more of a DPS, you want to go for MVPs as well as normal grinding, you can have a second preset whereby you add all to strength. You don't really need vid at all. This is just my opinion. For dex, you do not need a single point of dex, and that is because the Verus cost already covered this section, right? There is no casting involved. Later I'm going to touch on the cost, and you should be able to see better why this is the case. Now moving on to the skill build. First, before I continue any further, I'd just like to give a quick disclaimer. This is not a build meant for leveling before level 70. This build really, this skill allocation really only comes into play after level 70, and this is meant to be resetted. So once you reach level 70, you can then reset into the skill allocation as shown here. Then you would go into Soul Destroyer build, because Soul Destroyer in itself is a second transcendent job. So you, before that, you won't have access to it, and you would be relying on a lot of this first job skills to grind, which is why this skill build is not optimal for anyone that is looking to level before level 70. So with that said, we're going to look at the first drop skills. So here we do have 5 in double attack. Honestly, the reason why double attack is here is because there's nothing better to add. The key skills are Envenom for the prerequisites, so that you can get your second job as well as your third job skills, right? And then also it's going to be 5 in shield dodge. Shield dodge in essence is quite simple. It's just like a active skill whereby we were to use it, and then you have a chance to completely dodge incoming attacks, but it only lasts for 5 seconds. Optimally, you want to use it before you go into huddles or before you come out of hiding, so that you can have that quick burst of like dodge before you backslide away subsequently to avoid damage and then go back into hiding, right? So this is where it comes in clutch. You don't really want to use it on auto. This is not something to be used on auto. Next is going to be increased dodge. Once again, the main thing here, of course, there is a flee by 30, but the main thing I would say is the movement speed. And a lot of people actually underestimate movement speed when it comes to playing a Sinx that is super paper. You do want to have a lot of movement speed, because it allows you to disengage and then go back into hiding, wait for your cooldowns for hiding before you come back in to PvP again. Next is going to be your main skill, which is the hiding level 10. And the hiding here in Ragnarok Origin Global doesn't exactly work the same in the classic Ragnarok, whereby it only allows you to hide on the spot. In fact, you can move when you are hiding, so this comes in very handy when you're trying to relocate, when you're trying to disengage. And also it is going to tie in with your second job skill, whereby there is a hiding research, right, which later I'm going to touch on, which gives you bonus damage in hiding. And also there is going to be one skill, which is the backslide. This is super good also, because in the second job you are going to get backslide hiding, which means that you are going to get an additional hiding every time you use backslide. So this is going to be used separately. Please do not step your hiding, because hiding is your main like key or ingredients to being able to survive and burst people down, right, in PvP scenario. So definitely this is going to be something that you want to use. very carefully. And then Detoxify is just going to be removing poison effects. This is nothing really special and it comes for free. And then going into the second drop, we are going to see dual wielding. This is your main skill again because it allows you to hold 2 daggers. And the reason why 2 daggers are so OP and you don't see a lot of people using kata these days is because 2 daggers allow you to slot 4 cards. So if you just go into the cards itself, you can see right here, right, 4 cards over here and 2 cards over here on each hand. So you can slot 4 cards compared to other drops whereby they can only slot 1 card. This is going to be a significant advantage and a part of the reason also why Sinxes are going to be a bit pay to win if you want to go the dagger route, simply because you have 2 weapons, you have to refine it 2 times, you enchant it 2 times, and also you would have to find 4 cards to slot, right? But in the late game, you should be fine given the fact that the common cards are going to get a lot more easier to obtain, and then the racial cards you probably would have a bunch lying around for you to slot in all the weapon slots. But early game it might be a problem. Next is going to be the hiding research. Like I mentioned, once you are in hiding, you deal 40% more damage just by using skills in hiding. Freaking crazy, nothing much for me to say, just max it out. Backslide hiding as well, it ties in with your hiding research so that once you backslide, you're able to enter hiding for 30 seconds and then you can become invisible for 0.8 seconds, right? So this is going to be a fade time before you go into hiding, but it doesn't really play into it too much. So this is the 2 main skills for your hiding bonuses. You definitely want it maxed out. The rest of it is going to be the poison's skill tree, and the poison skill tree is going to be enchant poison as well as venom dust and also venom splasher. Though these 2 are your AoE, technically your AoE skills, right? I think venom splasher is going to be a bit less used compared to venom dust, and both of them require additional like ingredients such as the red gemstone as well as here I think it's also one more red gemstone, so you need red gemstone to actually use them. But if you just want to use it in the PvP context, I think most relevant in PvP context is going to just be enchant poison. And later I'm going to explain why, given the fact that there are various cores that can synergize with poison as well. And oh, one thing before I forget, so you can see here, right, there's only 39 distributed while there is a 41 distributed here. So personally I would think that the double attack is honestly not going to be that useful. So you can remove 1 and then put it back into venom splasher. I'm not sure why my friend added 5 the double attack. I checked around and don't think there's a prerequisite unless I am being wrong here, but yeah, I would personally add more into venom splasher. So the rest of the kata side is not going to be needed since you're using daggers. Next is going to be the trance second drop skills, whereby you become a Sinx. What you're going to add is very simple. The main crux of the build is Soul Destroyer, and here you are going to see why Intel is so good, right? Because the multiplier is 1000% plus 50 times Intel. So this is a lot of damage based off an Intel modifier, and it is also going to deal physical damage, but magic damage also contributing to the damage. So you don't think that it's just about physical damage, you need magical damage as well, but the main focus should be on Intel, and the rest of it comes as a bonus. So you will want stuff that gives you attack and magic attack as well, and then secondary maybe you can work on having magical damage, but I don't think that should be a key focus of your whole kit. And then of course next you are going to have the Find Weakness. So Find Weakness is the very strong passive whereby it ignores 20% of the enemy's defense. It's both physical and magical, so this is freaking broken. And the fact that you have these 2 skills right so early, like there's no prerequisite as in you can straight away add them, and then there is no like second tree, so you can straight away add the Soul Destroyer first, and then subsequently you can add the Find Weakness to maximize your skill build. And then as you can see, right, with this character only being level 73, you already have access to these 2 strong skills, so it's going to be very easy to transition to this build once you change to Sinx. And also next, for the next 19 skill points, you are going to want to add Enchant Deadly Poison. Enchant Deadly Poison increases weapon attack by 3%, so every percent is going to matter a lot. And this is also one of the reasons why your weapon refinement is going to be so important, because of this fact itself, this skill itself, right? And it does cost you 1 poison bottle, but I don't think that is like anything of concern in the grand scheme of things, and it has a chance to poison your target for 10 seconds. Poison would also be something that is very important. I'm going to explain later when it comes to the core. So after you finish this, you want to add probably Poison Reacts. You can also choose to go into Meteor Assault so that you can have one build whereby you can use it to hit enemies with AoE, and one place that is very useful is going to be Dracula, because Dracula, if your team is being a Bobo and they don't have any detect as well as Ruwajas, you do want to like just spam Meteor Assault when the Dracula is hiding. So that is one area where I think that this might come in handy. Also, you can use it for AoE scenarios in PvE, although you already have like the Venom Dust as well as the Venom Slasher, but Meteor Assault is still going to be quite good. But personally, I would say that it's between these two. I would go with Poison React just because it does increase your resistance from neutral, and also poison resistance, meaning that against other Sinxes that enchant poison, you're going to be a bit stronger. So this is what I would go with, and that basically covers everything about the skill build. Now moving on from the skill build, we have the gear, and I'm going to touch on 70 and beyond. Of course, this build doesn't come into play before 70, so we don't have to touch on any of the gear before that. So on this build itself, the two key things, right, are the two daggers, and it's basically just the Luna Dagger as well as the Moonlight Dagger. And the reason why they are so OP is because they specifically buff the Soul Destroyer build to ridiculous amounts. And the first one, for the Luna Dagger, it does the damage of Soul Destroyer increasing by 300% times magic attack. So magic attack comes into play right here, and it gives you a lot of magic attack. And you can see my friend's dagger is at +10, which gives an additional +100 magic attack. So this is only level 70. You might think that this is nothing much, but there is actually a +15 refinement for the Luna Dagger at level 80 and beyond, and that would in fact give you another damage increase from the magic attack, and also reduce the global CD of the Soul Destroyer. It's ridiculous, so you definitely want to refine it to +15 to leverage the max potential. Of course, this is going to be a bit out of reach for people that are non-pay to win, so this is the reason why you want to pay just to win at this build, right? So also there's the Moonlight Dagger. So similarly, this one at Refine 10 also gives additional damage from intel for Soul Destroyer, and also at 15 it's going to give additional one more stack, and also the global CD is going to be reduced. So this is quite insane. This is what you want to have, right? If you don't have these two daggers and you want to play Soul Breaker, forget about it, you can't do it. And then next, I'm going to touch on the armor. So for the armor, you can see that my friend is still using the level 51, and honestly, the level 51s are not the best for it. Of course, for level 70 to 80, you are going to first use this set. I think that the Wool Scarf plus the Tidal Shoe set is pretty good, as it gives you offensive power with the physical damage, and also gives you some survivability, right, with the max HP. So this is what I would prefer for the armor itself, because previously he was using the G build, so that's why he had the Thief Clothes. Personally, I would think that if you really want to maximize the potential, you could go with the combat ones, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. I think you should just skip it and then go to level 80, and then that's when your real armors come. When they get released, I'll touch on them again subsequently. Then for the accessories itself, you are going to want to focus on magic attack, and also you can also go for the physical attack route, but I feel that magic attack is what you want, right? Physical attack or damage is going to play a smaller role compared to magical attack, so that's why you can see him with the Sarah's Incense back. You can also go with the rings, the earrings, which give intel, so this is also going to be quite good. So you can see he's running with one, but it's really up to you which one you want to go with. And then for the rest of the slots, it's just the headwear and stuff, right? Try to focus on getting intel or magic attack. So basically, that's just the crux of it. For the gear, you just want to focus on offensive powers as much as possible, because your Soul Destroyer is going to aim to one-hit KO people in PvP, aim to do as much as possible in MVP and also in grinding scenarios, so that you can one-shot any target that you want and you can grind very fast. Now, before I move on, I'd just like to give some special mention to some cards, right? I know that people always ask for cards in this build, so I'm just going to briefly run through. If you want a entire comprehensive guide on cards, you are going to probably check out my video over here, whereby I touch on the cards in detail. But for the Sinx itself, for the Soul Breaker build, you do want something like the Cram card, because it gives both the physical attack as well as magic attack, so it comes into play, right? Especially much for this case. And you can also go with Elder Willow if you want for the intel, but I prefer Cram cut. And for the accessories itself, you do want Smoky cut in my opinion, because Smoky cut gives you one more hiding. This is more key in PvP scenarios. For PvE scenarios, maybe you don't have to go for it. You can see his other slot is slotted with Horong, so it's probably PvPing before he locked out yesterday. And Also, another card that I want to give special mention to, I don't think he has it. This is one of the cards that is very, very good for this build, and that is the Greatest General card, because it gives you both physical attack as well as magical attack, and also when you awaken it, you can get even more of these bonuses. So this is pretty crazy and one of the best cards for PvE for this Soul Destroyer build. Now moving on to the cores, I'm first going to cover the PvE aspects of your build when it comes to the cores. And first one, regardless of whether it's PvE or PvP, you definitely need this, which is the Order of Mind. This is the ultimate core. If you don't have this, your Soul Destroyer build is going to be quite lackluster, to be honest, because this core itself, right, removes the casting time for Soul Destroyer, which means you don't need Dex like I mentioned in your stats points. You just need this core and no more cast time for Soul Destroyer. And then it also increases your damage by Intel / 26 at max, right? So this is a quite sick core that he has here, right? Both level 7 magic attack is also quite coming in handy for this build. However, also note that at lower levels, right, even if you have a level 1 Order of Mind, right, in your Archdam core, you can still use it because the Soul Destroyer no longer requires casting effect. It's always going to be there. The higher level only comes in to add extra damage when it comes to your Soul Destroyer. So just to note there, you don't necessarily have to have a Dimic level 7 like his to have no casting time. And then the next we are going to talk about is the Poison boost. So Poison applying skills give you an additional 200% physical damage bonus. So what I've tested is that I enchant Poison and then I tried to use it on the dummy, right? So it didn't make a difference in my opinion. So if you were to look at this, right, we're just to do some testing over here. If I just use Soul Destroyer, it's 100k per hit, right? If I were to enchant Poison, it's still dealing 100k per hit. So you might think that this doesn't work at all, but in fact I feel that this actually works. It's just that the difference is that your core itself, right, the bonus itself probably only applies when you apply a poison stack or you apply poison status to the enemy. So this is something to note. I'm not sure if this is really the case. Definitely Sinx means you can correct me if you think that this is wrong, but personally this is what I think and what I've tested. So this is going to come in handy whenever you apply the poison onto your opponents with enchant poison. Next thing also for PvE, when it synergizes well with the poison, is going to be the corrosive poison core, and this core basically benefits your poison, enchant deadly poison, right? So this is going to be additional damage, and any additional damage is going to be welcomed by a Sinx. Now going into the PvP aspect of the core section, it's going to be a bit different, but of course you can still choose to run with this in PvP to maximize your damage. But personally, I've seen my friend play and I do think that having mobility is going to be very, very key, which is why most of the cores that I'm going to recommend for PvP is going to be focused around your escape skills, your hiding skills, your backslide. So the first one is going to be back rush, and what it does is basically after you perform backslide, you are able to move 20% faster for 3 seconds. So this can be very useful for disengaging, like I've mentioned, moving, repositioning so that you can strike your enemy undetected again. So this is basically what it does. The second one is going to be another one that also based off hiding, and that is going to be the Nightwalker module. So at hiding level 10, it grants an additional 10% move speed for 2 seconds, and also when the hiding effect expires, you gain 14% damage mitigation. So like I mentioned, the Sinx is going to be a very paper class, and for the brief second that you show yourself during which you use your Soul Destroyer when you come out of hiding, right, you're going to be quite vulnerable if a Lord Knight were to charge against you and then start to punch you down, right? That's going to be a problem. So you definitely want some kind of like damage mitigation, and this is quite significant if I'm being honest. Even at level 4, it gives you 14% damage mitigation for that 3 seconds, and usually your hiding, one of your hidings would come down, cool down, right? Either your backslide, your smoky hiding, or your normal hiding level 10, you're going to have access to it again within that 3 seconds, and you can go back to hiding again. So this is based off the PvP aspect. You want more mobility. Now before I end off the video, I'm just going to show you guys a bit more testing on this aspect, right? If you guys are curious about the damage, just based off this, you can see, like I mentioned just now, you are dealing a lot of damage with the Squid Gate. You can also run Entasha, you can run Earth Lord, whatever it is, right? It doesn't really matter, right? What you really want to focus on is going to be yourself, because you deal ridiculous amounts of damage. And what you want, you can see, right, if I go into hiding, right, you're going to be dealing so much more damage. So basically the combo in PvP is very simple. You just want to first go into hiding, right, locate your enemy. For instance, this is the enemy. Go into Soul Destroyer mode, deals a bunch of damage. If you kill them, good. If you don't kill them, go for a second strike. Once you kill them, go hiding, find your second target. If you are in a pickle, right, once you use Soul Destroyer in a pickle, go backslide, run away, right, reposition, come back in, use Soul Destroyer. So this is very, very simple, a very good combo to have in PvP. And that about does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide itself for the Sinx Soul Breaker build. Also, if you guys are interested to see what events are going to arrive in Ragnarok or Dream Global, as well as what to do for some of the events that have already arrived, definitely check out this video over here where I touch on it. I'll see you guys over there. This is Corky Gachas, signing off.